Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. So before we begin, just a small amount about myself. So my name's Jack from Tunstall. I'm in the community and support team. So we're sales oriented, but we dabble in various areas of the business. But I actually started in the 24/7 emergency response centre. So supporting a whole range of those calls, from the emergency calls to the tests to the false alarms. So that beginning has translated really well into what I do now. So it helps me identify the appropriate solution for people. And in doing so, building and supporting those long-term relationships. So I've been here approaching my 5th year in total, split about half and half. So I'm going to be focusing on alarm monitoring versus the absence of monitoring where we're not required. But before I do that, just a little bit about Tunstall Healthcare. So we're a provider of connected care and solutions and services. We've actually been around for a little over 65 years globally. We started in 1957 in Yorkshire when the owner of a television and radio shop was seeking a care solution for his mother, a means for his mother to call for help. Now we serve communities across the world in 19 countries. In Australia and New Zealand, our monitoring service operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We offer a really diverse range of technology, but behind that technology, there are real people, compassionate and trained and always ready to respond when help is required. So that's what I'm really focusing on today. So we have a clear mission at the heart of our work, which is to improve the quality of life by enabling people to live independently and safely, no matter their circumstances. So that our values guide every interaction. We're always prioritizing empathy, respect, reliability. We're listening to our clients. We're making sure we're empowering them and treating them with dignity, and always protecting their privacy as well. We're committed to going above and beyond wherever we can to solve problems quickly, secure the right kind of help, and crucially, staying on the line until that help arrives. So that's something that really distinguishes us in the industry. So monitored alarms, I don't want to go too much into the technology side of things, but really broadly speaking, there are intelligent and low maintenance in-home alarms that you can pair with a whole range of peripherals. So there are fall detectors, extension aerials, Ethernet now, and even smoke alarms. On the other hand, there are rechargeable mobile GPS alarms for use in the community, principally. And we always have options to bundle those two types of alarms together to get that optimal coverage. The wearables that we give people, so that whether it's a pendant or a watch or whatever form it's taking, they're always easy to use and water resistant. So we want people to wear them in the shower. That's one of those places things happen. But regardless of what type of alarm we're arranging, the service is always the same. So deferring to the slide here. So we receive an alarm activation. That could be either from one of our clients pressing the button on their pendant, on a base unit plugged in inside the home. Could be an automatic fall detection, or even if a smoke alarm is tethered, it could be a smoke alarm activation setting off the alarm. But regardless of that, it connects to our customer's care centre, and one of our consultants will answer, speak to the person directly through the alarm if possible, and arrange the appropriate kind of assistance if it's required. So if somebody had a gradual fall and they hadn't hurt themselves and they hadn't lost any alertness, we're usually getting family or friends to pop in and give them a hand. But if it was something more serious, say if somebody mentions to us that they're bleeding and on blood thinners, or if there's a pain in the chest, we're really not mucking around. We're getting the ambulance on the way and we're staying on the alarm always until that help arrives and notifying family or friends. So that's the basic process. Of course, we are also very flexible around that. We have clients who are completely deaf, who have very specific diverse needs. So we can always set up a custom protocol. All of this is up for discussion. That flexibility is another one of those distinguishing features of our service. So just on the customer care center answering those calls, so we're very much at the heart of our service and very much the tone setter for the rest of the business. We all kind of rotate around the emergency response center. They are the core of everything for us. So always compassionate, assertive, and proactive. You have the assurance that they'll be calm and in control during emergencies, and that they bring diverse experience. So it's from customer service, community care. We do also tend to have at least a small contingent of paramedics in training, which is useful. But of course, we're not there to provide medical advice. We're there to be that reliable layer in between our client and the right kind of help. So before taking a call, there's a comprehensive induction, 3 months training, first aid. And all the typical checks, so federal police check, skills assessment. So all of this it's a very simple kind of system in terms of how this works, but there's a very robust infrastructure behind everything. So there's the business continuity planning. We have hot site disaster recovery between Australia and New Zealand. So if something catastrophic happens to us, there's always somebody to pick up those calls. So that's the promise. Help's always available. So just to emphasize our commitment to our clients, we're always going to be there to answer the call any time of the day or night. It's our top priority. We're always going to ask how we can help. We're always open with that, whether it's reassurance, whether it's really a life and death scenario. We're always going to be a friendly voice and do everything we can. You'll have respect, empathy, and courtesy. Even if we can't hear the person on the other end, once we have that activation, we're making sure the person on the other end is safe and well by whatever means. We'll stay on the line until help arrives, unless somebody tells us to go away, which can happen. And we will always go above and beyond and protect and secure personal information. So very quickly, so these are on the simpler side of things, unmonitored alarms. We can, where flexibility for families and caregivers is important, where they're in a position to take on monitoring responsibilities, we can essentially step out of the equation. So the calls go to a list of 4 contacts instead. With that said, we actually have converted those self-monitored alarms to monitored alarms where needs and circumstances change. So you're not locked in if that's the appropriate type of monitoring service at the moment. I should mention it's only mobile GPS alarms that we can do this for as well. So the rechargeable devices, but 3 times it will cycle through those 4 contacts, sending text messages, and once somebody answers, the device will stop. If nobody answers over in total 12 phone calls that the alarm will make, the call will fail. So it is really important that somebody is available to assist. Really, all hours, I suppose, depending on the needs. So that's something to keep in mind. But in terms of what I'm here to discuss, that really finished it up. So actually, it's my pleasure to introduce the co-founder and CEO of Lumin, Paul Wilson, to discuss some of their exciting technologies.
Thank you for that fantastic introduction, and hello everybody. Just make sure you can see me here, and hopefully you can see. Can you see my screen as well? Yeah, I think you can. Terrific. So thanks for your time today. We're a slightly different spin on things. So my background is I ran a digital agency and a web-based development company for a long time, which was terrific, but slightly soul-destroying. And about 10 years ago, my business partner and I had this crazy thought that maybe we can mix things up and do things a bit differently and pivot the business into something that is more around a profit for a purpose. And the theory of that was, I grew up as a carer for my mum, who was sick for a long time, saw the challenges that families had in dealing with someone that was chronically ill. And our background was all around technology and communication. And we had this thought that maybe we can think about how to make accessing technology easier for people that were vulnerable in the space. And research indicated that digital inclusion, you can see on the graph on the screen here, drops off really quickly as people age. And the concept of Lumin is really to keep people safe, connected, and independent. Obviously, critical in both the home care space and the NDIS space. And the way we can do that is by simplifying access to the technology. So you'll see that I've got a screen in front of me here, which hopefully you can see this at the moment, can you? See the screen? Yeah, so fantastic. So what we realized was we were delivering a solution to an app, and we realized really quickly that the app only solved part of the problem. And in fact, it created more problems because you were dealing with people's own devices. And you got questions like, how do I turn it on? Or you click and hold the button on the side. I'm clicking and holding the button, it's not working. Or you just need to connect it to the internet. And these are the things. We knew we could deliver a great user experience, but what we found was it was the technology getting in the way. So we went to the extraordinary extent of actually designing our own hardware from the ground up. So we're like the Apple of aged care, where the hardware, the software, the services, and this piece of hardware solves some really big problems. So you can see it's got a really simple stand on the back. It's got Visa mounts, so you can mount it to a wheelchair or a wall bracket. It's got a SIM card on board, so there's no conversations about connecting it to the internet, although you can connect it to Wi-Fi or Ethernet if you wish. It's got a very long battery life on it. It's boot on power. So as soon as you plug the cable into the device with a really obvious point on the back, the device spins up and everything they see is already personalized for them. So I can't go into a detailed product demonstration today. Obviously, that's something we would love to do if you can reach out. But what Lumin does is it provides connectivity through phone, messaging, either from the provider or via what we call a supporters app, which is an app for family and friends they download on their smartphone, and they can send messages, medication reminder, calendar events, photos, all these wonderful things. And as a provider, the providers can do the same thing. They can send messages with simple replies. They can do simple video calls to watch people do activities like take medication or maybe even do exercise from an OT standpoint, as well as things like, as I mentioned, medication reminders, games. The games that we're focused on are cognitive games, so where we can develop a cognitive score and really help people around their cognitive ability. Everything on the screen is customized for each participant or customer. So everything you see here, it's got my name on the screen, and everything here is customized just for me. Now, that includes, we call this version Bright. We've got another version built for cognitive impairment, which is basically just the family's faces on the screen. They click, it's got their name and who they are, son, daughter, uncle, whatever, where they just click on the face and they can make a phone call. But we can do clever things like block inbound calls that aren't in the directory to eliminate scamming. And of course, we've got a fantastic relationship with Tunstall, where this device also becomes effectively the button in the box. So you can see, hopefully, that I'm wearing a pendant here, and we've got wall buttons and different things. And what happens is when I press on this button, the screen will go into an emergency mode.
We're notifying your support network.
So that will notify Tunstall. Tunstall will call in on the device, as they do with their other technology. It will trigger the client file at Tunstall's end, so they'll see how to access the building, what medications they're on, where the medications are kept, and how the family or the provider want to triage an emergency. So the great thing about Lumin is it's packaged, it looks cool, it doesn't stigmatize them. It feels like when the grandkids come around, they're super excited. They go, oh, isn't Grand cool because she's got this great device? And it solves that communication component, but importantly, it also connects back to Tunstall, providing direct support, and then also things like passive support. So we can have a movement sensor that if there's no movement for a period of time, it can notify Tunstall, or in fact, family and friends through the supporters app that I mentioned before. So we've been in market for about 8 years. We've got behind the product, we've got an excellent customer support team. So if the customer's got any queries, they can call our support team. We remotely monitor and manage the screen, so there's no operating system updates, there's no passwords or logins or downloads. If the device is turned off or things like pendants lose battery, we know about it. So we really just remove all the complexity with the technology and then align that with really empathetic people who are there to help, whether it's adding a radio station to the screen or whether it's family members wanting to understand how to connect with their loved one. These are all the things that we do very, very successfully. So I was given 10 minutes. I think that's 10 minutes. So I think I now turn this off and we'll stop sharing momentarily and hand back for Q&A.
Perfect. So I'll just bring back.
Sorry, don't say it's all good. Yes.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Paul. So we'll just run through some of the questions that I believe we already had there before we started. So I can see we had a question from Barbara. Thank you, Barbara. How do the alarms work in rural areas with little or no internet? Well, certainly internet not being there isn't a big problem for us. So most of the alarms, they run on mobile networks as a starting point. And if we don't have that adequate mobile service, we do now have the option to link some of our alarms into Ethernet. So the alarms that work inside the home, which use a base unit, you no longer require mobile reception for them to work. You just need the internet, and then so you have that extra bit of redundancy if something's not working there. So we are excited to be able to offer that. The other question I can see here is from Joanna about the life of a personal alarm. So I'm sure Paul can speak to his system, but in terms of our alarms, the ones that we have right now, our at-home alarms, because they work with a base unit plugged inside the wall, they last a very long time. So we're still retiring alarms that have been out in the field for 10 years. They're really old landline systems. So those landline systems no longer really work reliably because the NBN introduction just added too much architectural complexity there. But yes, they last a really long time. We do have to, after about 5 years, have to change the internal battery that's there if the power goes out. But aside from that, they're super reliable and super low maintenance. The other type of alarm, the mobile GPS alarm, because they have that rechargeable battery, it's a little bit harder to say. It really does. It really is contingent on battery health, and batteries can last really anywhere. They can last from 15 months to 4 to 5 years, depending on how often they're charged, the kind of environmental conditions, high or low temperatures, whether the mobile reception is good and the satellite GPS is reliable in the area, that activity, and so how it's sort of stored and maintained. So it's a little bit harder to answer that. But Paul, do you have any insights into the lifespan of Lumin?
Well, I'll start off with the internet as well. So Lumin has Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and a SIM card. So you do actually need internet at the end of the day. It's just a matter of how that's delivered. So rural and remote, we've got relationships with both Optus and Telstra, so we can try different SIM cards. And if not, as Jack said, you can rely on an NBN or broadband connection with a Wi-Fi or an Ethernet connection in the home. In terms of the devices, part of designing this device, we designed it from the ground up to be 36,000 hours, which is call it 5 years, but we've got devices that have been in market 7 and 8 years, and they're still performing well, and we're still updating them and monitoring them remotely. Our pendants and buttons, everything checks in. I think Joanna was asking, how do you know it's working? So these devices check in with the screen checks in with the cloud checks in with our services and Tunstall services. So if that's got a low battery, a 20%, say, they'll be notified, and that gives us, probably 3 to 6 months to change the battery. We're typically getting 12 to 18 months out of these because they check in so regularly. These wall buttons, 10 years or so, and it's really easy. Even if they're stuck to a wall with these, you just pop the cover on and you can change the battery. So very simple to monitor and maintain, and all of our stuff is remotely monitored and managed. Anyone else got any questions for me? I'd like to answer some questions around Lumin if there are any. You can tell I'm enthusiastic about the product.
Yeah, so as you said, there's a lot of intelligent stuff going on in the back end as well. Those alarms, doing those periodic background calls. So the idea being that we're being as little an imposition on people's day-to-day as possible. It's just there in the background, and you can rely on it to work. And if something goes wrong, we know about it first, and we reach out to solve the problem. That's kind of the idea. I'm not sure if there are any questions at this stage. I think some of them may have actually been answered by worker bees in the background.
Yeah, I think we've answered Barbara's question around rural and remote. Joanna, life and personal alarm, I think we've answered both of those. Is there any other questions? I mean, I suppose we deal a lot with home care providers, providers in general, and OTs, and we've got a team here that would love the opportunity to demo the device and go through it in more detail. So if there is that, I think we will share hopefully our details after this meeting. So please reach out if you've got any further questions. And yeah, we'd love to talk to you more.
Perfect. Well, at this stage, I can't see any other questions rolling in. I think I did see one earlier on the list that may have already been answered, I think, relating to people with hearing impairments and things like that. So one thing that we offer, I did mention briefly that we set up custom protocols for people, but if somebody's completely deaf, they can still use our alarm systems. And if they activated one of our alarms or the Lumin tablet, when it presents to our response team, we'd have that information clearly established on the file that the person is going to be unable to communicate with us conventionally. And we'd either possibly communicate via text message if that's an option to just check in and see if we can help. Otherwise, we might even just escalate to emergency contact or to ambulance straight away. So yes, when we're talking about flexibility of the monitoring response, that's an example of what we mean by that. So we can, everyone's different, and we want to account for all of those diverse needs. But I believe that's all that we have to answer at the moment. So possibly we'll leave it there, unless, was there anything else you wanted to say before we finished up, Paul?
Oh, no, I think, obviously I've given a very brief overview of the product, but that's all the time I think we had allowed for today. But there's a lot goes behind it, and there's a lot we're doing. I think the only other thing probably worth mentioning is that Lumin does tie into other CMS systems. So things like Liacare, where we can pop up reminders on the screen to remind participants or customers that someone's coming to visit, so we can help eliminate those missed appointments, which is a really big one, as well as look to deliver information to the screen like billing plans and statements, run surveys on the screen. So a lot of that compliance work that's happening in the background we can address, and obviously that's important through both the NDIS and support at home, where Lumin is completely covered. So if there's any more or any other questions around that, we'd love to talk to you.
Perfect. Well, as it stands, thank you very much for everyone attending or possibly watching this later on, and have a fantastic day. Thanks very much.
Thanks for the invite, Tunstall. Cheers.